So, hi everyone. Thanks for joining today. My name is Ben Sacchetti. I help lead healthcare and life sciences here at Uncork. I've been here for about a year now. My main focus is on making sure that our platform, which Glenn will tell you all about, is bringing value to our clients, right? Health plans, life sciences companies, and providers. I'm joined by Glenn Schwartz, as I mentioned. He leads solutions and application engineering for all of Uncork. Glenn, do you want to do a quick intro?
Sure. Thanks, Ben. My name is Glenn Schwartz, Head of Solutions Applications Engineering here at Uncork. Great to spend time with you today.
Great. And we're really excited to hear your perspectives on no code more broadly, and of course, how it can really help to alleviate pain points that to date have proven fairly intractable for health plans. But let's start from the beginning. Just looking back across what I'm sure was a wealth of opportunities that you were considering at the time, what was it that made Uncork stand out? Why did you join?
Sure. Well, the promise of developing enterprise software in a way that's faster, cheaper, and better has been in play for years. Everyone knows that. Languages and environments have come a long way, but you still build and maintain code over and over again till maintenance becomes most of what you do. Then came low code or pre-built code to develop blocks that could help us develop faster, but it still left us in the same maintenance headaches. Around 6 months ago, a friend of mine who's a CIO said, Glenn, you should take a look at this cool company, Uncork. They have a really amazing concept that they call no code, which I'd heard of, and it's right up your alley. So I did take a look, and my first thought was, wow, this is really cool, but it can't be reality. Subsequently, he introduced me to a few of the executive, and as I learned more, I started to realize this is different. What Uncork has figured out how to do is take complex programming language syntax and abstract it into a set of component building blocks with a visual front end. And it actually works, which is very unique. Because there's no code generated, I can bring in less experience and new types of developers who can become a lot productive more faster. They're not bogged down with trying to remember curly braces or syntax. It's simply faster. The other cool thing is I can now get business process analysts and other knowledge workers into the game, relieving the need for expensive developers, especially as recently developer salaries have just gone through the roof. I wanted to really be part of this. It was very exciting and something I hadn't seen before.
Yeah, we're hearing, I would just echo your comments on developer salaries. We're hearing that a lot from some of our health plan clients. And
Yes.
I guess I'm curious, right? Like 6 months now that we fast forwarded, you have 6 months under your belt or so. What continues to excite you here at Uncork?
6 months. Wow. In many ways, it feels like 6 weeks. Things here at Uncork seem to move faster than anywhere else that I've ever worked with, and I've been around. Seriously, though, the coolest thing Uncork has done is to revolutionize business process orchestration. To connect desperate legacy systems and newer systems to move the business forward. In the old days, and I mean 2 years ago, a company would acquire a Pega or a MuleSoft or some other middleware or integration product, hire a team of integration experts and solution architects, pair them with engineers to build a simple workflow. That process would take like 6 months to a year, and it's very expensive. So just prior to coming to Uncork, I actually did some enterprise architecture work for a mid-size payer in the Midwest who was being crushed by a 6-month backlog, and they were using a low-code solution already. It all came down to unraveling the complexity around all this middleware and all the disparate integrations. Had I known about Uncork at the time, I would have said, this is a great solution for you guys. With Uncork, a year of work it turns into 90 days. They have a graphical workflow engine that's easy to learn and the slickest way to handle APIs from legacy and new systems I've ever seen. You visually set up the data coming in and pass it to the workflow seamlessly. Totally different experience. And the best part is once this has been set up, you can now train business analysts to manage and adjust these workflows without bringing back the team of mules at far lower costs with greater flexibility. We figured out how to uncork that problem. The bottom line is that these types of capabilities allow clients to drive towards a codeless architecture without syntax and curly brackets like I was talking about. And IP is completely separated from machine readable code, making it highly transparent, portable, and also upgradable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would ask, right, like from more of a health plan specific context, when you think about it from that perspective, what are some of the biggest technical pain points that you've observed in recent years?
Sure. Well, it comes back to what I said about not being able to keep up with the pace of change demanded by the business. Member and provider expectations for digital engagement are rising. Regulations are changing, like data interoperability, and machine learning and AI is really improving rapidly. In addition, plans are expected to bring down costs with new types of care management telemedicine solutions, all requiring new levels of cloud integration with continued HIPAA protections for PII. The business has little to no mercy for 6 to 12-month backlogs. They want it all now. And maybe they'll compromise for what they can get by giving you, let's say, 90 days. Last week, I spoke to a large regional payer in the South. They were simply overwhelmed with a complete competing list of priorities. With COVID, it's just gotten worse. The problem is front and back office legacy systems are in hybrid configurations, and there's still a lot of on-prem infrastructure around. So it's difficult to open them up in a cost-effective, scalable way. In part, this is due to massive investments in old-fashioned middleware and enterprise service bus technologies that are not only expensive in terms of direct costs, but require an army of architects and developers to operate, as we've been talking about. So instead of systemic modernization, a Band-Aid point-to-point integration approach is often used. These bespoke, hard-coded integrations are often brittle. They need to be manually maintained and updated anytime someone else wants to change just a simple workflow or process flow. It's no wonder enterprise architecture and IT don't have the bandwidth to focus on what the business really needs and actually innovate around these things. Health plan CIOs, not to mention business leaders, are really frustrated with the implications. Lack of data integrity is also tied up with this. The inability to leverage the latest and greatest in healthcare, SaaS platforms, business rules trapped deep in the tech stack, to name a few of the problems that are out there.
We are hearing this a ton. It really resonates. What I mean, if you step back and tie it all together, right? Like, how would you then encourage health plan CIOs to think about using Uncork and no code to get at some of these pain points that you're mentioning?
So I think two areas come to top of mind. When I ran enterprise architecture at Blue Cross Blue Shield plan in the Northeast, we had a problem that negatively impacted customers every day, and it also drove costs, significant costs. That particular problem I'm talking about is the call center. We had a large call center operation with over 500 staff, and they were charged with providing localized friendly services, as most plans do. But the problem is they couldn't always provide that service. Let's face it, self-service is where the common problems are handled, but it's the exceptions that keep you up at night. So one good example of a problem that's out there is the ability to serve members troubleshooting claims processing. Agents must stitch together data across multiple legacy systems, such as EDI transactions, benefit coverage levels, and billing. A single issue could take weeks often, and a special task force is often needed to put that together. This infuriates members. They just don't want to wait 2 weeks to figure out what a simple billing problem is. Call center leadership was begging IT to fix this problem, but solutions were really costly and never really a priority. Outsourcing only addresses labor costs and language barriers can actually further mitigate customers if arbitrage is the way to solve the problem. Case management is ready for disruption in healthcare. So, my thought is, why not use Uncork to establish connectivity and business rules across these different systems that are disconnected, and have the outputs flow into a support dashboard that allow them access to the actual data itself, instead of calling different departments in IT to get at these logs and so forth. This could cut operational costs by an order of magnitude. It can extend things like prior auth, appeals and grievances, and provider relations, and make them much more cost-effective to do. Another one I'm thinking about is actually new employee onboarding. Many plans have tried to combine ServiceNow and identity management solutions, but this requires huge investments and takes a long time, sometimes up to years. There are also hundreds of off-the-shelf vendors that are providing these onboarding services. DocuSign, ADP, Salesforce, RPA, just to name a few. The myth is that they're easy to use, but the problem is you have to use it for everything to get the benefit, and it doesn't work for everything. Uncork can serve as a lightweight process orchestration layer with easy API integration to bring these systems together in a seamless workflow. It's an open ecosystem, and it can be easily evolved. As the workflow needs to change, it's easy to do without spinning up an expert IT project team every time you have another problem.
Yeah, I think I just laugh a bit. I've personally had the experience that you're talking about
We
with
all have.
respect to claims processing. It is a painful one, and I can only imagine on the back end it's equally painful. And speaking of member experience, I think the last thing perhaps to ask about now, and then Mike actually can give a quick demonstration of our approach. In the past, I know you and I have spoken about member experience in the context of care management. And you've really pushed us, I think, appropriately so to get involved in this area. Would be great if you would explain why.
Sure. Care management is an area I have a lot of interest in, always have. And it's exploding because the potential there is incredible to bring down costs dramatically. The idea, of course, is to head off disease to susceptible populations by proactively managing the member's health before serious things happen. Good news is, there's a growing set of amazing SaaS solutions that are out there that can help members optimize outcomes for a given condition. New approaches are constantly emerging, and employers want to give members access to these things. But integrating with these solutions is very, very complex and very difficult. In a prior life, my health plan wanted to work with a new diabetes care management system that had a lot of promise, as an example. But to even get it the right data and analytics from our member base, let alone create an integrated member experience, it was like 20-step process that took months, and it would have cost a fortune. We eventually did it, but it was way behind schedule, and it cost much more than originally planned for. So to do this at scale across all our strategic focus areas would have been impossible. Uncork can really be a game changer there.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn. And I think we'll transition it now to Mike, and I think what he will show will be a nice complement to what you're talking about. And he will show, and albeit simplified in a short period of time, but he'll show as a demo of our approach to a highly scalable and configurable member experience, focusing on care management and really equipping health plans to much more easily leverage these the latest and greatest of healthcare SaaS. Because to your point, the pace of innovation is really picking up. It's just that we need to be able to leverage it without disrupting what we already have. So thank you so much for your time today. And we'll transition it to Mike now.
Thanks, Ben. It's been a pleasure. Have a great day.
Great.
Okay, so let's do a demo of some of the capabilities of Uncork. What I'm going to show you in the next 10 minutes or so is a sample application where maybe you need to spin up a portal, and within that portal, you want to do integrations to other services, whether those services are things that you build inside of Uncork, or the more likely scenario is that there's going to be integrations to third-party services. We're going to show you some different examples of that, how easy it is to create those integrations inside the platform and leverage those in things like workflows, dashboards, et cetera, all the things that you configure inside the Uncork application. All right, so let me share my screen and we'll get started here. So let's say, for example, we are using Uncork to do things like create portals for our clients. So we have clients that are requesting portals. So as a part of that process, when we stand up a new portal, there's going to be services that we are going to offer up within that portal screen. So let's kind of walk through a scenario here. I need to create a new portal for member services for one of our clients. So right now, this is acting as the template for that portal screen. I can fill in the logo, the title, and then down here is where I would select the different services that my client wants for their member services portal. So I can pick and choose from that list. Now, for any one of those options that we enable in their portal, there could be integrations that we need to do. Maybe, for example, when they do data sharing, we have to call maybe something like human APIs. We'll demonstrate that. Maybe for provider search, we can leverage a third-party integration using Ribbon to do physician searches. So we're going to see examples of some of those things as we build out this portal. All right, so I'm going to go to options, and from the options screen here, Let's say our client is T Rowe Price. I'll bring in their logo. We'll bring in their company name for the title. If I wanted to customize the footer text, etc., maybe I want to customize the background color, change the colors on the columns. I can do all that from here. We can now see our portal configuration coming to life. The last thing that I need to do is just pick and choose which services their members will need access to. So I'm just going to select a handful from this list. And when I click save, that will save the configuration record, right, that maps to the T Rowe Price implementation. And if I happen to then click launch, this is where we see the end user experience of that portal screen. Now, from here, if I'm a member who is logged into this portal and I happen to click device data sharing, it's going to take me into another screen, but that module or that screen doesn't exist yet. So how do we use Uncork to create that functionality? So let's go into the designer view here. So this is the workspace where we are doing all of our portal administration. And I'm going to double click into the member portal app here. So the configuration module, that's what we used when we were actually defining, in this case, T Rowe Price's portal, right? So all the different options that we needed to select. The member portal is actually the runtime version of that configuration. So it takes those configuration settings that we've had, actually applies them to the portal. What things should we show or hide, enable, disable, etc. So within the screen here, I'm going to create a new module for data sharing. So once I create that module, I'll double click into it. And then I can use the existing components that come with the Uncork platform to create all this functionality from scratch. So whether it's things like data capture, data display, some of the more functional elements like making calls to APIs, applying business rules, doing data workflows. So I can assemble all that myself. In this case, though, I'm going to use a snippet. And for data sharing, we are going to leverage a third-party connection to Human API. So this is one of our technology partners. If I happen to expand that configuration, you're going to see there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens on the screen here, or even behind the scenes from the end user's perspective. So this is all the functionality that we need to maybe create an account with Human API, connect to that account. Once I'm connected, pick and choose which records I need to have access to, medical records, pharmacy records, lab results, whatever it may be. So all that functionality is embedded into this module. Now, I'm not going to make any other changes to this. I'm just going to click save. Now, what I do need to do is actually copy the unique ID of this module. So this is how we navigate from screen to screen within Uncork, is using these unique IDs. So now that I know that I've got a data sharing module, what I now need to do is go into my member portal configuration. And so this is the design time view of this screen here. So now how do I hook up when someone clicks on this link that it actually takes me to that new module that I've just created? So there's our link. And then here is our initializer for making that navigation happen. So down here, all I need to do is paste in that unique ID for the module. We'll click save. And then since we've added in new functionality into our screen, I just need to refresh this. And now when I click that link, it's going to take me to medical records, and I can access my account, connect my medical records. Here's where Human API will kick in. And so this is their user interface just embedded inside of our Uncork application. I've already connected to different record types and maybe my Apple device. So once I've done that, I can then view that record data, pull that into my Uncork application, and I can see all that information here, and we can filter it down. Maybe it's encounters, maybe I want to see, other information being pulled back from that Human API call. All right, so there's one example. Now, let's say we need to do something for physician search, right? Same thing applies here. If I happen to click on this, there's no screen for that. So if I come back to our designer view, I'm going to create a new module here, and we'll call it physician search. Now in this example, we're going to use a snippet again, but this snippet is going to leverage an integration with a third-party technology called Ribbon that will allow us to do different types of searches for providers, right? So maybe it's by name, maybe it's by specialty, zip code, distance from my current location. So those are all the parameters that we can use to do that search. We can then locate a given provider profile, view their profile information, maybe see, what insurances do they accept, what are their specialties, et cetera, or what other locations do they have offices at. So let's go ahead and save that. And again, same process here. I'm going to copy and paste that unique ID of that module. We're going to go back into our member portal here. So just like we did with the data sharing, we have to do the same thing for our provider search functionality, where we need to paste in that unique ID. So let's go ahead and click save. We'll click save there. Again, we'll refresh our portal screen here. And now when I click provider search, we have a nice screen here where I can specify a specialty, maybe a zip code, maybe throttle the distance from my current location. Click search, that's going to pull back a data set. So again, this is just data coming back from that ribbon integration. I can pull up a provider profile. I can see where they're located. I can schedule an appointment with them. There's the accepted insurances and their other locations, as well as some other information associated with them. All right, so that's integration number 2. So let's do a third one for an appointment request. And we're going to do that through this wellness link here. So we're going to go back into our designer view. We're going to create a new module for appointment request. And in this one, we are going to use an integration with WorkPath, right? So another third-party service. And again, I've got a snippet for that. So a lot of the times when you start building out these integrations and you start templatizing them through snippets, you can then reuse them across your applications. It doesn't require you to have to keep recreating things over and over again. If you've got consistent functionality, you want to repurpose it in different applications, that's where snippets are going to come into play. All right, so let's go ahead and copy that ID. And we'll go into our portal. There's our wellness appointment. Paste that in, click save. Refresh our portal screen. And when we click wellness, we can now schedule that appointment. So I'll just fill in my information. Maybe I need to do a blood draw in a couple days at such and such time. Email me the appointment information, request that service. So by clicking that button, what we're doing is basically packaging up all this information that the user has entered, sending it over to the WorkPath API, and then it's going to come back with a scheduled appointment. So here's my email. We've confirmed your visit at your location, right? And so now we've got that added to our calendar. All right, so let's do one last integration here using a chatbot. So within the portal screen here, what I'd like is a chatbot window to pop up in the bottom right here, right? So maybe if the member has specific needs and they need to contact someone in customer service, they can do that through that chatbot. So in our member portal, we're going to go back into snippets. And in this case, we're going to use Glia, which is a very common chatbot integration that we've done in other client implementations. So all I need to do is, again, just drag and drop that in. And then if I refresh my screen, we're going to see we have now incorporated that chatbot functionality. So if there happens to be someone on the other end of that line, now that member can start interacting with them. Maybe they need help or assistance as they're on their member services screen here. So what did we see? We saw the ability to create things like portals using template configurations. We saw the ability to create integrations to other systems leveraging our technology partners, whether that's Human API for record sharing, whether it's Ribbon for doing things like physician search, whether it's WorkPath for doing things like appointment requests, or whether it's just incorporating chatbot functionality into the portal to make a better user experience, in this case, for the members that are interacting with this application. So all of that within a matter of minutes. And again, a lot of that is going to get accelerated once you start defining those configurations inside the platform, wrapping them in those snippets, and then as your configurators build out different workflows, different dashboards, et cetera, they don't have to keep recreating those things. They can just simply drag and drop them, reuse them in those applications. So hopefully that gave you some good perspective on how quick it is to build out those integrations in Uncork.